Samuel Cross's hands went numb the moment he saw her step off that train. Elena, 18 years, gone. And here she stood, green eyes scanning the platform, looking for another man. His boots felt rooted to the dust as she walked past him, her daughters clutching her skirts, her lips forming a name that wasn't his. Thomas Brennan, the mail-order groom. Samuel's chest cracked open like split timber. She was alive. She was here. And she was about to marry a stranger while the man who'd loved her since Tennessee watched his entire world collapse in the middle of Abilene's afternoon sun. Before we continue with Samuel and Elena's heart-wrenching story, please subscribe to our channel and follow this journey to the very end. Comment below with the city you're watching from so I can see how far the story has traveled. Samuel didn't move. Couldn't move. His body refused every command his mind screamed at it, while Elena Hale, his Elena, walked 15 feet away from where he stood frozen against the station wall. She didn't see him. Her focus stayed locked on the crowd gathering near the platform's edge, her lips moving in what looked like a prayer, or maybe just desperate hope that whoever she was searching for would be kind. "Mama, is that him?" one of the girls asked. Maybe 10 years old. Dark hair like Elena's. "Hush, Sarah. We don't know yet." Samuel's throat closed. The voice. God, that voice. It carried the same soft Tennessee lilt he'd heard in his dreams for nearly 2 decades. The same gentle firmness she'd used when they were young, and she'd scold him for being reckless. But there was something else now. Something worn and tired that hadn't been there before. "Elena Hale?" A man's voice cut through the station noise. Heavy boots approached. Samuel's eyes tracked the source. A ranch hand, dusty and weathered, holding a crumpled piece of paper. "You Elena Hale from Tennessee?" "I am." Elena's shoulders straightened. "Are you Mr. Brennan?" "No, ma'am. Name's Dutch. Mr. Brennan sent me to fetch you and the young ones. He's got business at the land office. Says he'll meet you at the hotel in 2 hours. The smaller girl, maybe 7, pressed closer to Elena's leg. "Mama, I'm scared." "It's all right, Emma." Elena's hand settled on the child's head, but her fingers trembled. "Everything's going to be all right." Samuel's legs finally obeyed. He pushed off the wall, his heart hammering so hard he could hear it over the train's departing whistle. 3 steps. That's all it took to close the distance between his past and whatever this moment was about to become. "Elena." She turned. The world stopped. Her face drained of every drop of color, her lips parting in a gasp that seemed to pull all the air from the platform. The paper bag she'd been holding hit the ground, apples rolling across the wooden planks. "Samuel?" His name came out broken, disbelieving. "Samuel Cross?" "It's me." His voice sounded foreign to his own ears. "It's me, Elena." "You're dead." She took a step back, her hand flying to her chest. "You died. Papa told me you died at Shiloh. He showed me the letter, the casualty list. Your name was—" "I didn't die." Samuel moved closer, every muscle in his body fighting the urge to grab her, to prove he was real, to make her understand. "I came back. I came back to Tennessee 3 months after the battle ended, and your father said you'd moved. He said you didn't want to see me, that you'd moved on." "Moved on?" Elena's laugh came out sharp and bitter. "I mourned you for 2 years. I wore black. I visited your grave. There's a marker in the church cemetery with your name on it. How dare you? How dare you stand here and tell me—" "Mama?" Sarah's voice cut through Elena's rising fury. "Who is this man?" Elena's jaw clenched. Her eyes stayed locked on Samuel's face, searching for something. Answers, maybe, or proof that this wasn't some cruel dream. Take your sister and wait by the luggage. Now. But Mama! Now, Sarah. The girls moved, reluctant but obedient. Dutch cleared his throat, shifting his weight. Ma'am, we should get going. Mr. Brennan don't like to be kept waiting. Give me 5 minutes. Elena didn't look at the ranch hand. Her gaze stayed fixed on Samuel, hard and unflinching. Please. Dutch nodded and walked toward where the girls stood huddled near a stack of travel trunks. The moment he was out of earshot, Elena's composure cracked. Why are you here? Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Why now? After all these years, why would you show up now? I live here, in Abilene. I've been here for 6 years, working cattle, building something. I didn't know. Elena, I swear to God, I didn't know you were coming. If I'd known... If you'd known what? Tears welled in her eyes. What would you have done, Samuel? Written me? Stopped me from getting on that train? I'm here to marry Thomas Brennan. I answered his advertisement 4 months ago. We've been writing. He promised me a home, stability for my daughters. He promised me safety. Daughters. The word hit Samuel like a fist. You have daughters. You married someone else. Of course I married someone else. Elena's voice rose, then dropped again when she remembered where they were. You were dead. I had nothing. My father died 2 years after the war ended and left me with debts I couldn't pay. I did what I had to do. I married a merchant from Charleston, Robert. He gave me a home. He gave me Sarah and Emma. And then yellow fever took him last year and left me with nothing again, except 2 children to feed and clothe and keep alive. Samuel's chest felt like it was caving in. I'm sorry. God, Elena, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't change anything. She wiped at her eyes with the back of her hand. Sorry doesn't give me back the life I should have had, the life we should have had. We could still... No. Elena shook her head, her expression hardening. No, Samuel. That door closed 18 years ago. I'm here for my daughters. Thomas Brennan offered me a future. He offered them a future. I can't, I won't throw that away because you showed up at a train station and made me feel things I buried a long time ago. You still feel them. Samuel stepped closer. You just said it. You still feel them, Elena. Feelings don't put food on the table. Her voice cracked. Feelings don't keep the cold out in winter or pay for medicine when your child is sick. I learned that lesson the hard way. I won't make that mistake again. So you're just going to marry a stranger? A man you've never met? Elena, that's survival, she cut him off. That's what women do when they don't have choices. You want to judge me for it? Fine. But you don't get to stand there and act like you understand what I've been through. You don't get to pretend like showing up here changes anything. Dutch called out from across the platform. Ma'am, we really should get moving. Elena nodded without looking away from Samuel. I have to go. When's the wedding? Tomorrow, 2 o'clock at the church on Main Street. She picked up one of the fallen apples, her hands shaking. Don't come, Samuel. Please. Don't make this harder than it already is. I can't promise that. Then I'm asking. Her eyes met his, and for a moment Samuel saw the girl he'd fallen in love with by that creek in Tennessee. Young, hopeful, unbroken. I'm begging you. Let me do this. Let me give my daughters the life they deserve. And what about the life you deserve? Samuel's voice came out rough. What about what you want? Elena's smile was sad and tired. What I want stopped mattering a long time ago. She turned and walked toward her daughters, her spine straight despite the weight Samuel knew she carried. He watched her gather the girls, watched Dutch load their belongings onto a wagon, watched the woman he'd loved for 18 years drive away toward a future that didn't include him. Samuel stood there long after the wagon disappeared down Main Street. The sun beat down on his shoulders. The platform cleared. The next train wouldn't arrive until evening. None of it registered. All he could think about was Elena's face when she'd first seen him. The shock. The pain. The love that she couldn't quite hide no matter how hard she tried. "You look like someone just told you the world's ending." A familiar voice broke through Samuel's thoughts. Marcus Webb, the town's blacksmith and Samuel's closest friend for the past 4 years, stood a few feet away, arms crossed over his broad chest. "What happened?" "She's here." Samuel's voice sounded hollow. "Elena's here." Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "The Tennessee girl? The one you told me about? The one who thought I was dead?" "Yeah." Samuel finally moved, walking toward the edge of the platform. "Her father lied to her, told her I died in the war. She's been carrying that for 18 years. "Jesus." Marcus fell into step beside him. "Did you talk to her?" "For about 5 minutes before she had to leave." Samuel's hands curled into fists. "She's getting married tomorrow. To Thomas Brennan." "Brennan?" Marcus stopped walking. "The rancher? The one who bought up half the valley last year?" "That's the one." "Samuel, that man's got a reputation. Nothing criminal, but—" Marcus chose his words carefully. "He's hard, cold, the kind of man who sees everything as a transaction. If Elena's marrying him thinking she's getting security, she doesn't have a choice." Samuel's jaw clenched. "She's got 2 daughters to take care of. No money, no family. Brennan's offering her a way out." "But she doesn't love him." "She doesn't even know him." Samuel turned to face his friend. "They've been writing letters. That's it. She's about to marry a complete stranger because she's desperate, and I can't do anything about it because she asked me not to." Marcus studied Samuel's face for a long moment. "You're not the kind of man who walks away when someone he loves is in trouble." "She doesn't want my help." "Maybe not, but that doesn't mean she doesn't need it." Marcus clapped a hand on Samuel's shoulder. "What do you know about Brennan?" "Not much. Keeps to himself. Runs cattle on that spread north of town. I've seen him in the saloon a few times. Never says more than necessary." "I've heard things," Marcus's voice dropped, "about how he treats his hired hands. Works them hard. Doesn't tolerate mistakes. There was a kid, maybe 16, who worked for him last summer. Came into town with bruises up and down his arms. Said he'd fallen off a horse, but—" Samuel's blood went cold. "You think he's violent?" "I think he's the kind of man who believes he owns whatever he pays for." Marcus met Samuel's gaze steadily. "And if Elena's marrying him tomorrow, she's about to become something he paid for." "I need to talk to her." Samuel was already moving toward Main Street. "I need to make her understand." "She's at the hotel. Brennan's got her set up in a room there until the wedding." Marcus grabbed Samuel's arm, stopping him. "But you can't just barge in there. You'll make things worse. You need a plan." "I don't have time for a plan. The wedding's tomorrow." "Then we make time." Marcus's grip tightened. "Listen to me. If you go charging in there right now, all worked up and desperate, she's going to shut you down. She already told you to stay away. You think showing up at her hotel room is going to change her mind?" Samuel wanted to argue. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to find Elena, to make her see reason, to do whatever it took to stop her from making the biggest mistake of her life. But Marcus was right. Elena had been clear. She'd made her choice. "So what do I do?" Samuel's voice came out defeated. "Just let her marry him?" "No. You figure out who Thomas Brennan really is. You get proof of what kind of man he is. And then you give Elena information she needs to make a real choice." Marcus released Samuel's arm. "I know a few people who've worked for Brennan. Let me ask around, quietly, see what I can find out. By tomorrow? I'll do my best. Marcus started walking toward the blacksmith shop. In the meantime, you stay away from that hotel. You hear me? Don't go near Elena until we know what we're dealing with. Samuel nodded, but his mind was already racing. Tomorrow. Elena was getting married tomorrow. He had less than 24 hours to figure out how to save the woman he loved from a man who might destroy her. The sun was setting by the time Samuel made it back to his small cabin on the edge of town. The place felt emptier than usual, lonelier. He built it himself 3 years ago, thinking maybe someday he'd have a family to fill it. A wife, children, the kind of life he dreamed about when he was young and stupid and believed love was enough. He'd been wrong then. Elena had just proven it. Samuel poured himself a whiskey and sat on the porch, staring out at the darkening prairie. Somewhere in town, Elena was tucking her daughters into bed in a hotel room, preparing for a wedding to a man she didn't love. Somewhere, Thomas Brennan was finalizing whatever cold calculations he'd made about acquiring a wife. And Samuel was sitting here, useless and angry, and heartbroken all over again. A knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. Marcus stood there, his expression grim. "That was fast," Samuel said. "I talked to 3 people who've worked for Brennan in the past year." Marcus didn't wait for an invitation, just walked inside and dropped into a chair. "It's worse than I thought." Samuel's stomach dropped. "How bad?" "The kid I mentioned? The one with the bruises? He wasn't the only one. Brennan's had 6 hired hands quit in the past 18 months. Every single one of them left with the same story. Work yourself to death or get out. No second chances, no sympathy. One of them told me Brennan locked him in the barn overnight as punishment for letting a cow wander off." Jesus Christ! Samuel set down his glass before he threw it. "And this is the man Elena's about to marry?" "There's more." Marcus leaned forward. "Brennan's been through this before. 4 years ago, he had a mail-order bride. Woman from St. Louis. Married her, brought her out to the ranch. She lasted 6 months before she ran off in the middle of the night. No one knows what happened to her. Some say she made it back to St. Louis. Others think..." He stopped. "Well, others think Brennan made sure she didn't tell anyone what went on in that house." Samuel's hands started shaking. "I have to tell Elena." "With what proof? Everything I just told you is hearsay, rumors. Brennan would deny all of it, and Elena..." Marcus paused. "Elena's desperate. You said so yourself. She might not care." "She'd care if she knew her daughters were in danger." "Maybe. Or maybe she'd convince herself that she can manage it, that she can keep them safe. Desperate people rationalize desperate choices, Samuel." Marcus stood up. "But there might be another way." "I'm listening." "The first wife, the one who ran. I know someone who might know where she ended up. If we can find her, if we can get her to talk..." "We don't have time." Samuel's voice rose. "The wedding's tomorrow afternoon. Even if we could track her down, we couldn't get her here in time." "Then we stop the wedding." Marcus met Samuel's gaze. "You go to that church tomorrow. You stand up when the minister asks if anyone objects. And you tell Elena everything I just told you." "She'll hate me." "Maybe. But she'll be alive. Her daughters will be safe. Isn't that worth her hating you?" Samuel wanted to say no. He wanted to believe there was some other way, some path that ended with Elena loving him again instead of despising him. But Marcus was right. Elena's safety, her daughter's safety, mattered more than his heart. "I'll do it," Samuel said. "Tomorrow. I'll stop the wedding." "Good." Marcus headed for the door, then stopped. "For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing, even if it doesn't feel like it." After Marcus left, Samuel sat in the darkness of his cabin, thinking about tomorrow. About Elena's face when he stood up in that church. About the life she'd asked him to let her have, and the truth he was about to destroy. He didn't sleep that night. He just waited for morning to come, and prayed that when it did, he'd have the strength to break Elena's heart one more time. Morning came too fast, and brought with it a knocking that wouldn't stop until Samuel dragged himself off the floor where he'd finally passed out around 4. "I know you're in there," a woman's voice, not Elena's. "Open the door, Mr. Cross, or I'll keep knocking until your neighbors complain." Samuel yanked the door open. A woman in her 30s stood on his porch, dark hair pulled back, eyes that missed nothing. Behind her, a small girl, Emma, Elena's younger daughter, clutched a raggedy cloth doll. "Who are you?" Samuel's voice came out rougher than he intended. "Margaret Finch. I run the boarding house on 3rd Street. This one showed up at my kitchen door an hour ago, asking if I knew where Samuel Cross lived." She nodded toward Emma. "Said her mama used to talk about you. Said you were important." Samuel's heart stopped. "Where's Elena? Is she—" "She's at the hotel. Doesn't know her daughter's missing yet, but she will soon." Margaret's expression hardened. "The girl says she needs to talk to you. Says it's about her mama and the man she's marrying." "I figured you'd want to hear it before all hell breaks loose." Emma stepped forward, her chin trembling, but her voice steady. "Mama doesn't know I'm here. She thinks I'm sleeping. But I heard her crying last night. She cried for hours after Sarah and me went to bed." Samuel crouched down to the girl's eye level. "Emma, you need to go back before your mama worries." "I can't." Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks. "I can't let her marry that man. He came to the hotel last night. He wanted to meet us. He looked at Mama like she was something he bought at the market." And when Sarah asked him about the ranch, about whether we'd have our own rooms, he said children should be grateful for whatever they get. "Emma, he scared me." The girl's voice dropped to a whisper. "Mama tried to smile and tell us everything would be fine, but I saw her hands shaking. She's scared too. She just won't admit it." Samuel looked up at Margaret. "Does Elena know you're here?" "Not yet, but Dutch, Brennan's ranch hand, he's already at the hotel. He sees this child is missing. He'll tell Brennan, and then—" Margaret didn't finish. She didn't have to. "I'll take her back." Samuel stood, his mind racing. "Right now." "No," Emma grabbed his hand. "I won't go back unless you promise to stop the wedding. Mama loves you. I know she does. Last night, when she was crying, she said your name. She said Samuel over and over, like it hurt just to say it." The words hit Samuel like a physical blow. "Your mama made her choice, Emma. She asked me to stay away." "Because she's scared," Emma's voice rose. "Because she thinks she has to protect Sarah and me by herself. But we don't want her to marry Mr. Brennan. We want her to be happy. And she was happy for 5 minutes yesterday when she saw you. She was happy in a way I've never seen before." Margaret cleared her throat. "The child's got a point. I saw Elena yesterday evening when she came by to ask about hiring me to do her hair for the wedding. Woman looked like she was preparing for a funeral, not a marriage." Samuel's jaw clenched. Every second Emma stayed here was another second closer to disaster. "I need to get you back to your mother. Now." "Promise me first." Emma's grip on his hand tightened. "Promise me you'll stop the wedding." "I promise." The words came out before Samuel could stop them. "I was already planning to. But Emma, your mama's going to be furious with both of us when she finds out about this. I don't care. Emma's chin lifted. As long as she doesn't marry him. The walk back to the hotel took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of Emma talking non-stop about her mother, how Elena used to sing before Robert died, how she'd stopped smiling after the fever took him, how she'd cried when she read Thomas Brennan's first letter offering marriage, but sent a reply anyway because she didn't know what else to do. She thinks she's out of options, Emma said as they turned onto Main Street. But she's not. She has you. It's not that simple. Why not? You love her. She loves you. Seems simple to me. If only it were. Samuel spotted the hotel ahead, its whitewashed walls gleaming in the morning sun. Dutch stood on the front steps, his expression darkening the moment he saw Emma. Where the hell you been, girl? Dutch strode toward them. Your mama's about to lose her mind. She woke up and found your bed empty and she's safe. Samuel positioned himself between Dutch and Emma. She came to find me. I'm bringing her back. You. Dutch's eyes narrowed. You're the one from the station yesterday. The one who upset Mrs. Hale. I didn't upset her. I just... Doesn't matter. Dutch grabbed Emma's arm, pulling her away from Samuel. Mr. Brennan don't want you anywhere near his bride. You show up at that church today, there's gonna be trouble. Let go of her. Samuel's voice went cold. Now. Or what? Dutch's hand moved to his belt, where a knife handle jutted out. You gonna make me? Dutch! Elena's voice cut through the tension like a whip crack. She stood in the hotel doorway, her hair loose around her shoulders, still in her nightgown with a shawl thrown over it. Let go of my daughter this instant! Dutch released Emma immediately. The girl ran to her mother, burying her face in Elena's skirts. Elena's arms wrapped around her daughter, but her eyes stayed locked on Samuel. What is he doing here? Elena's question was directed at Dutch, but her gaze never left Samuel's face. The girl ran off. Dutch shifted his weight. Found her with him. You were just manhandling my daughter. Elena's voice could have cut glass. Get inside, Dutch. Tell Mr. Brennan I'll be up shortly. But ma'am, now. Dutch hesitated, then trudged into the hotel, muttering under his breath. The moment he disappeared, Elena's composure cracked. Emma, go upstairs. Your sister's worried sick. But Mama. Now, Emma. The girl looked at Samuel one more time, her expression pleading, then ran inside. Elena waited until she was gone before turning her full attention to Samuel. I asked you for... Samuel took a step closer. But she knows, Elena. Your daughters know you don't want to marry Brennan. Emma told me you cried all night, that you said my name. Elena's face went white. She had no right. She's scared for you. Both of them are. They met Brennan last night, and Emma said he looked at you like property. Samuel's hands clenched into fists. Is that true? Did he treat you like something he purchased? It doesn't matter how he treated me. Elena pulled her shawl tighter. The wedding is happening. In 6 hours. And you need to accept that. I can't. The words ripped out of Samuel's chest. I can't stand by and watch you marry a man who's going to hurt you. You don't know that he'll hurt me. Yes, I do. Samuel closed the distance between them. I talked to people who worked for him. He's cruel, Elena. He locked a kid in a barn as punishment. He works his hands until they break. And 4 years ago, he had another mail-order bride who disappeared 6 months after they married. Elena's breath caught. Disappeared? No one knows what happened to her. She ran off in the middle of the night, and no one's heard from her since. Samuel's voice dropped. I know you're desperate. I know you think you're out of options. But marrying Thomas Brennan is not the answer. It's a death sentence. Stop it, Elena's voice cracked. Just stop. You don't get to show up after 18 years and tell me what to do. You don't get to make me doubt the only plan I have. What if I had another plan? The words came out before Samuel fully formed the thought. What if I offered you an alternative? Elena's eyes widened. What are you talking about? Marry me instead. Samuel's heart hammered against his ribs. Marry me, Elena. Today. Right now. We'll find a minister, get the license, and— Are you insane? Elena took a step back.
Samuel, we haven't seen each other in 18 years. We're not the same people we were. You don't know me anymore. I don't know you.
I know enough. Samuel reached for her hand, but she pulled away. I know I loved you when we were young, and I love you now. I know you deserve better than a man who sees you as a transaction. I know your daughters deserve a home where they're safe and valued and— And what? You think you can provide that? Elena's laugh came out bitter. You live in a cabin on the edge of town. You work cattle. That's barely enough to support yourself, let alone a woman and 2 children. I'll make it work. I'll take extra jobs. No. Elena's voice turned cold. No, Samuel. I'm not your charity case. I'm not some broken thing you can fix to make yourself feel better about the past. You feel guilty for not fighting harder. So now you're trying to save me to make up for it. But I don't need saving. I need security. I need a future for my daughters. And Thomas Brennan can give me that. At what cost? Samuel's voice rose. Your safety? Your happiness? Your life? My happiness stopped mattering the day my husband died and left me with nothing. Elena's words came out flat, final. I'm doing what I have to do, and you need to let me. Elena, go home, Samuel. She turned toward the hotel. Don't come to the church. Don't try to stop this. Just let me go. She walked inside before Samuel could respond, her shoulders squared but her steps heavy. Samuel stood there, fury and helplessness warring in his chest, until Marcus appeared at his elbow. I heard what happened. Marcus kept his voice low. Emma running off. The whole town's talking. She came to ask me to stop the wedding. Samuel's voice sounded hollow. Her own daughter begged me to save Elena from this marriage. So, what are you going to do? I don't know. Samuel scrubbed a hand over his face. I told Elena about Brennan, about the rumors. She doesn't care. She's convinced this is her only option. Then you give her another option, a real one. Marcus pulled a folded paper from his pocket. I found her, the first wife. Her name's Catherine Marsh. She's living in Denver, works as a seamstress, and she's willing to talk. Samuel's heart leapt. You contacted her? Sent a telegram last night. Got her response an hour ago. Marcus handed over the paper. Samuel started walking toward his cabin. I need to think. But thinking became impossible when Sarah, Elena's older daughter, appeared at his door 20 minutes later, her face streaked with tears. She's gone, Sarah's voice shook. Mama sent Emma and me to the general store to buy ribbon for our hair. When we got back, her room was empty. All her things are gone. Dutch said Mr. Brennan came and took her to the ranch early. The wedding's not at the church anymore. It's at his house. In 2 hours. Samuel's blood went cold. He took her to the ranch? Dutch said Mr. Brennan wanted privacy, that he didn't want a spectacle. But Mama, she didn't. He lives on the edge of town. He'll keep them safe. The world tilted. Elena knew. She knew Brennan was dangerous, and she'd gone with him anyway because she thought it was the only way to protect her daughters. Where's Emma? Samuel's voice came out steady, despite the panic clawing at his chest. At the boarding house. Mrs. Finch is watching her. Sarah wiped at her eyes. You have to stop this. You have to get Mama back. I will. Samuel grabbed his coat and his gun. Stay at the boarding house with your sister. I'm coming with you. No.
Stay here. If Catherine's train arrives early, bring her to Brennan's ranch." Samuel swung onto his horse. "And if I'm not back by nightfall, don't talk like that. If I'm not back, you take those girls somewhere safe. Somewhere Brennan can't find them." Samuel kicked his horse into motion. "Promise me, Marcus." "I promise, but you're coming back." Marcus's voice followed Samuel as he rode out of town. "You hear me? Real money." No wonder Elena had been tempted. Samuel tied his horse a quarter-mile out and approached on foot, staying low, using the tall grass for cover. Voices carried from the main house, Brennan's, deep and cold, and Elena's, tight with barely concealed fear. Perfectly reasonable request. Brennan's words drifted through an open window. "You're about to become my wife. I have a right to know what kind of woman I'm marrying." "I've told you everything that matters." Elena's voice shook. "I don't understand why—" "You had a visitor this morning, at the hotel. A man. Dutch said he seemed familiar with you." Samuel's stomach dropped. He crept closer, pressing against the side of the house. "He's no one." Elena's lie came too fast. "Just someone who recognized me from Tennessee. We exchanged pleasantries and he left." "Dutch said your daughter ran off to find him. That doesn't sound like no one to me." Brennan's footsteps crossed the room. "Who is he, Elena?" "I told you." The sound of flesh hitting flesh echoed through the window. "You hit her. The wedding's off." "The wedding," Brennan said, his voice deadly calm, "is happening in exactly 1 hour. And if you're not gone by then, I'll make sure you never leave this ranch alive." Samuel's eyes flicked to Elena. "Is this what you want? You want to marry a man who hit you before you're even his wife?" Elena's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her gaze darted between Samuel and Brennan, terror and indecision warring across her face. The silence stretched until Samuel thought he might break from it. Then, Elena took a shaking breath and said the words that changed everything. "I want to leave. Please, Samuel, get me out of here." Brennan's hand shot toward the gun on the desk, but Samuel was faster. His bullet tore through the wood 6 inches from Brennan's fingers, the crack of gunfire echoing through the parlor like thunder. "Touch that gun, and the next one goes through your hand." Samuel's voice stayed steady, even as his heart tried to pound through his chest. "Elena, come here, now." Elena moved, her steps shaky but determined. She crossed the room and positioned herself behind Samuel, her hand gripping the back of his shirt like a lifeline. Brennan watched her go, his expression shifting from fury to something colder, more calculated. "You're making a mistake, Elena." Brennan's voice carried no emotion at all, which somehow made it worse. "I paid for your train ticket, your hotel room. I made arrangements. You owe me." "I don't owe you anything." Elena's voice gained strength. "You hit me. The arrangement is void." A slap. Brennan straightened his cuffs as if they were discussing the weather. "Hardly grounds for breach of contract. And yes, Elena, we do have a contract. You accepted my proposal. You came here voluntarily. In the eyes of the law, you're obligated to fulfill your end of the bargain." "She's leaving." Samuel started backing toward the door, keeping his gun trained on Brennan. "Whatever claim you think you have, it ends now." "Does it?" Brennan's smile was thin and sharp. "Because I don't think you've thought this through, Cross. You just broke into my home, threatened me with a firearm, attempted to abduct a woman who came here of her own free will. The sheriff's a friend of mine. Who do you think he's going to believe?" Samuel's stomach dropped, but he didn't lower the gun. "Elena, is that what you'll tell the sheriff? That I abducted you?" "No." Elena's hand tightened on his shirt. "I'll tell him the truth, that Mr. Brennan struck me, and I asked you to help me leave." "And I'll tell him you're a liar." Brennan took a step forward. "A desperate woman who accepted my proposal, took my money, and then changed her mind when an old lover showed up. You think anyone's going to take your word over mine? I've got a witness. Samuel kept his gun steady.
Dutch saw you take Elena from the hotel. Saw how scared she was. Dutch works for me. He'll say whatever I tell him to say. Brennan's confidence never wavered. Face it, Cross. You've got no proof of anything except your own criminal behavior. You put that gun down and walk away. I might not press charges. Might even let Elena go with a warning about breach of contract. But you take her out of here, I'll make sure both of you regret it. Let him try. Marcus's voice came from the doorway. Samuel's friend stood there with his own rifle, pointed straight at Brennan. I heard everything. About the slap, about the threats. That's enough witnesses for me. Brennan's jaw clenched. You're trespassing too, Webb. Actually, I'm standing in an open doorway on what appears to be a matter of public safety. Marcus didn't move. Seems to me a woman's being held against her will. That makes it my business. She's not being held. Then you won't mind if she leaves.
Marcus's voice hardened. Will you, Brennan? The silence stretched until Samuel thought the tension might snap something fundamental in the room. Then Brennan laughed, a cold, mirthless sound that raised the hair on Samuel's neck. Fine. Take her. Brennan moved to the window, his back to them. But know this, Elena. Your daughters are still in town, still under my reach. You walk out that door with Cross, you better pray I never see those girls on the street. Accidents happen. Children get hurt. Would be a shame if something happened to them because their mother made poor choices. Elena's gasp was like a knife to Samuel's gut. You wouldn't. Try me. Brennan turned, his eyes dead and empty. I paid good money for a wife. I don't take kindly to being cheated. You threatening children now? Marcus took a step inside. That's low even for you, Brennan. Not a threat, a fact. Brennan's smile returned. Elena knows how the world works. She knows what happens to women who break their word. To children without protection. Don't you, Elena? Elena's whole body started shaking. Samuel could feel it through her grip on his shirt. Samuel, he's right. Sarah and Emma, they're still in town. If he goes after them... He won't. Samuel kept his gun trained on Brennan, even as his mind raced. Because if anything happens to those girls, I'll kill him. And everyone in this room knows I mean it. Bold words. Brennan's expression never changed. But killing me won't bring them back, will it? Won't undo whatever harm comes to them. You really want to risk that? What do you want? Elena's voice cracked. Money? I'll pay you back every cent. I'll work. I don't want money, Brennan cut her off. I want what I paid for. A wife. A woman to run my household and bear my children. You signed on for that role. You'll fulfill it or suffer the consequences. Over my dead body. Samuel's finger tightened on the trigger. That can be arranged too. Brennan's hand moved toward his vest pocket. Marcus's rifle came up instantly. Don't. Marcus's voice could have cut steel. Whatever you're reaching for, leave it where it is. Just a handkerchief. Brennan pulled out a white square of cloth and dabbed at his forehead. You boys are awfully jumpy. Makes me think you know you're in the wrong here. The only wrong happening is you thinking you can buy a woman like livestock. Samuel started backing toward the door again. Elena's coming with me. Her daughters are coming with me. And if you come near any of them, I'll make sure you regret every second of whatever life you have left. Samuel, Elena's whisper was urgent. The girls. We need to get to them before he... They're safe, Marcus interrupted. I left them with Sheriff Crawford's wife. Told her the situation. She's keeping them at the jailhouse until this gets sorted out. Elena's relief was palpable. Thank God. Crawford's wife? Brennan's composure finally cracked. You involved the sheriff's family? Seemed appropriate. Marcus's smile was grim. Seeing as how you were threatening children and all. Figured Mrs. Crawford would want to know about that. She's real fond of kids. Lost 2 of her own to scarlet fever. Tends to get protective when she hears about men making threats. Brennan's face went red. You son of a... We're leaving now, Samuel cut him off. You stay here. You don't follow us. You don't go near Elena or her daughters. You don't even think about them. Understood? This isn't over. Brennan's voice dropped to something dark and dangerous. You think you can just walk away? You think there won't be consequences? I'm counting on consequences. Samuel reached the doorway, Elena still behind him. Just make sure you're ready for them when they come. They made it to the horses, Samuel's and Marcus's both tied near the barn, without Brennan following. But Samuel's skin crawled the whole way, expecting a bullet between his shoulder blades. Elena climbed onto Samuel's horse without hesitation, her arms wrapping around his waist as he swung up behind her. Go! Marcus mounted his own horse. I'll cover you. They rode hard, the prairie grass whipping past, Elena's grip on Samuel tight enough to bruise. She didn't speak, didn't cry, just held on like she was afraid letting go would make everything fall apart. They were halfway back to town when Elena finally broke. Stop! Her voice was barely audible over the thunder of hooves. Samuel, stop! I can't breathe. Samuel pulled up immediately, Marcus circling back. Elena slid off the horse and walked a few steps away, her hands on her knees, gasping for air. Samuel dismounted and went to her, his hand hovering over her back, uncertain if touch would help or hurt. I'm sorry. Elena's words came between ragged breaths. I'm sorry. I need a minute. Take all the time you need. Samuel crouched beside her. We're safe. Brennan's not following. Yet. Elena looked up, her eyes red-rimmed. He's not following yet, but he will. You heard him. He thinks he owns me. Men like that don't give up. Then we'll deal with it when it happens. Samuel reached for her hand, relief flooding through him when she didn't pull away. Right now, you're safe. Your daughters are safe. That's what matters. Is it? Elena's laugh was brittle. Because from where I'm standing, I just traded one problem for 10 more. I have no money, no prospects, no plan. I came here thinking I could secure a future for Sarah and Emma, and now... She stopped, her voice breaking. Now I've got nothing. Again. You've got me, Samuel squeezed her hand. That's not nothing. Isn't it? Elena pulled away, standing up. Samuel, we don't know each other anymore. You said it yourself yesterday. It's been 18 years. We're different people. What if we can't make this work? What if I'm a burden you can't carry? Stop. Samuel stood too, his hands gentle on her shoulders. Listen to me. I know we've got a lot to figure out. I know this isn't the fairy tale reunion either of us imagined. But Elena... He waited until she met his eyes. I've spent 18 years thinking you were dead, mourning you, trying to build a life around a hole that never closed. And now you're here. You're alive. You're real. I'm not letting you go again because we're scared of what comes next. I'm terrified of what comes next. Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. I'm terrified I'll fail you, that I'll fail my daughters, that I'll make everything worse instead of better. Then we'll be terrified together. Samuel pulled her close, feeling her resistance melt away as she buried her face in his chest. But we'll figure it out, I promise. Marcus cleared his throat. Hate to interrupt, but we should keep moving.
Brennan might not be following now, but that doesn't mean he won't send someone. Elena pulled back, wiping her eyes.
He's right. We need to get to Sarah and Emma. They must be so scared.
Mrs. Crawford's good with kids. Marcus helped Elena back onto Samuel's horse. She'll keep them calm until we get there. The rest of the ride passed in tense silence. Elena's grip on Samuel never loosened. Her body pressed against his back like she was afraid distance would make her disappear. Samuel's mind raced through everything that needed to happen. Getting Elena and the girls settled, figuring out living arrangements, dealing with Brennan's inevitable retaliation. They reached town just after noon. Main Street was busier than usual, people gathering in small groups, whispering. Samuel's stomach sank. News traveled fast in Abilene. Everyone probably knew about the confrontation by now. "Samuel Cross!" Sheriff Crawford stepped out of his office, his expression grim. "We need to talk."
After I see the girls. Elena slid off the horse before Samuel could stop her. Where are my daughters?
"Inside with my wife. They're fine." Crawford's eyes moved to Samuel. "But we've got a situation. Thomas Brennan sent his foreman to file charges. Says you broke into his home, threatened him with a firearm, and attempted to kidnap his intended bride."
That's not what happened. Elena stepped forward. Mr. Brennan struck me. I asked Samuel to help me leave. There was no kidnapping.
Crawford's expression softened slightly. "He hit you?"
Yes, across the face. Hard enough to leave a mark.
Elena turned her cheek toward the sheriff. The bruise was visible now, dark purple spreading across her skin.
I told him the wedding was off, and he became violent.
"Did anyone else see this happen?"
Samuel did. He came in right after.
Elena's voice stayed steady.
And Mr. Brennan threatened my daughters. Said if I left with Samuel, he'd make sure something happened to them.
Said accidents happen to children. Crawford's jaw tightened.
He said that?
I heard it too. Marcus dismounted. I was in the doorway, heard the whole conversation. Brennan made it real clear he considered Elena property he'd paid for.
That's not how the law works.
Crawford pulled out a notepad. But it's going to be his word against yours. And Brennan's got influence in this town. Money. Connections.
And I've got the truth.
Elena's chin lifted.
Isn't that supposed to count for something?
It should. Crawford didn't sound convinced. But truth gets complicated when wealthy men get involved. I'm not saying I won't investigate. I'm saying you need to be prepared for this to get messy. How messy? Samuel asked. Brennan's already talking about a lawsuit. Breach of contract. He's claiming Elena accepted his proposal in writing, took money from him, and then reneged. Says he's owed compensation. Crawford looked at Elena.
Did you accept his proposal? In writing?
Elena's face went pale.
Yes. I wrote him a letter accepting his offer of marriage. But that was before I knew what kind of man he was. Before he hit me.
The hitting changes things. Makes his claim weaker. Crawford tapped his pencil against the notepad. But the threat to your children, if we can prove he said that, that's criminal. Problem is, it's 3 witnesses against 1. And one of those witnesses is the woman who broke the engagement. Brennan's lawyers will tear that apart. So what do we do? Samuel's hands clenched. Just let him get away with it? No, we build a case. Crawford looked at Marcus. You said you heard about Brennan's past, about other hired hands, other complaints. I need you to get me names, people willing to testify about his character. I can do that, Marcus nodded. And there's something else. A woman in Denver, Catherine Marsh. She was married to Brennan 4 years ago. Ran off after 6 months. I contacted her. She's willing to talk. Crawford's eyebrows shot up. Brennan was married before? Mail order bride. Same as Elena. Lasted 6 months before she disappeared. Marcus pulled out the telegram. She's coming in on the 4 o'clock train. Says she'll testify about what he did to her. That could change everything. Crawford took the telegram, reading it quickly. If she's got proof of abuse, of a pattern, that makes Brennan's claims against Elena a lot less credible. And if she doesn't? Elena's voice was small. If it's just her word against his, like it is with me? Then we hope the judge sees the pattern. Crawford handed the telegram back to Marcus. But I won't lie to you, Mrs. Hale. This is going to be a fight. Brennan's got resources. He's got lawyers. He's not going to let this go without making you suffer for it. I don't care. Elena's voice hardened. He threatened my children. He hit me. I'll fight him with everything I have. Good, Crawford almost smiled. Because you're going to need that fire. In the meantime, you and your daughters stay at my house. My wife and I have a spare room. It's not much, but it's safe. Brennan won't try anything while you're under a lawman's roof. Thank you. Elena's relief was visible. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. Crawford's expression turned serious. This is just the beginning. Brennan's not going to take this lying down. And when men like him get crossed, they get dangerous. You all need to be careful. Watch your backs. Don't go anywhere alone. Samuel's hand found Elena's. I'll protect her, whatever it takes. I know you will. Crawford looked at Samuel for a long moment. But protecting her might mean more than just keeping her physically safe. It might mean standing up in court, testifying, making your intentions clear. My intentions? Samuel's brow furrowed. Brennan's going to argue that Elena left him for you, that this whole thing was a scheme to get out of her commitment. The best way to counter that is to show your relationship is legitimate, that you're not just some passing distraction. Crawford paused. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, if you're serious about Elena, about building a future together, you might want to make that official sooner rather than later. Elena's hand tightened in Samuel's. You're talking about marriage. I'm talking about legal protection. Crawford shrugged. Married women have different rights than single women, different protections. If Elena's your wife, Brennan's claims get a lot weaker. I can't ask Samuel to marry me just to win a legal battle. Elena pulled her hand away. That's not fair to him. You're not asking. Samuel caught her hand again. I'm offering. I already asked you this morning, remember? Before all this happened. The answer's the same now as it was then. Marry me, Elena. Not because of Brennan, not because of the law, because I love you. Because I've loved you for 18 years, and I'm not wasting another day pretending I don't. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Samuel. Mama! The door to the sheriff's office burst open. Sarah and Emma ran out, launching themselves at Elena with enough force to nearly knock her over. Mama, you're safe! We were so scared! I'm here, babies. I'm here. Elena knelt down, pulling both girls into her arms. Everything's going to be all right. Is it? Sarah looked at Samuel, her expression older than her years. Is Mr. Brennan going to come after us? Not if I can help it. Samuel crouched down to the girl's level. And I promise you, I'm going to do everything in my power to keep you and your mama safe. Emma studied his face for a long moment. Mama said you died in the war, but you're here. Does that mean happy endings are real? Samuel's throat closed up. He looked at Elena, saw the hope and fear warring in her expression, and made his choice. Yes, sweetheart. I think maybe they are. Mrs. Crawford appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on her apron. I've got soup on the stove and bread in the oven.
You all look like you could use a good meal.
We should wait for Catherine. Marcus checked his pocket watch. Train's due in 2 hours. Once she gives her testimony, we'll have what we need to bury Brennan's case. If she shows up. Sheriff Crawford's tone carried doubt. Woman like that, she's probably spent 4 years trying to forget what happened. Coming back here to testify, that takes courage most people don't have. She'll come. Marcus's certainty didn't waver. I talked to her myself on the telegraph. She wants Brennan to pay for what he did. Elena's arms tightened around her daughter's.
What did he do to her?
That's her story to tell. Crawford gestured toward his house next door. Come on, get the girls fed. You can wait for the train in comfort instead of standing in the street. They moved as a group, Elena and the girls, Samuel, Marcus, and the Crawfords. Mrs. Crawford fussed over Sarah and Emma, settling them at the kitchen table with bowls of chicken soup and thick slices of buttered bread. Elena sat beside her daughters but didn't eat, her eyes distant, her hands trembling in her lap. Samuel pulled up a chair across from her. You need to eat something. I can't. Elena's voice was barely audible. Every time I close my eyes, I see his face. The way he looked at me when he raised his hand, like I was nothing. You're not nothing. Samuel reached across the table, covering her hand with his. You're everything. Elena's eyes met his, and something shifted. The fear was still there, but underneath it, Samuel saw something else. Recognition. The ghost of who they'd been together, fighting to resurface through 18 years of pain and survival. I want to believe that. Elena's fingers curled around his. I want to believe we can make this work. That I didn't just jump from one impossible situation into another. But Samuel, I'm scared. I'm so scared I can't think straight. Then don't think. Samuel squeezed her hand. Just feel. What does your heart tell you? Before Elena could answer, Sarah spoke up from the end of the table. Mama's heart says she loves you. She told us, last night at the hotel. She said you were the only man who ever made her feel safe. Elena's face flushed. Sarah, it's true. Sarah's expression was defiant. You said it. You said Samuel was the one good thing that came out of Tennessee, and losing him was worse than losing Papa, because at least with Papa, you got to say goodbye. The silence that followed was absolute. Elena stared at her daughter, shock and something like betrayal warring across her features. Samuel couldn't breathe, couldn't move, the weight of Sarah's words pinning him to his chair. You had no right. Elena's voice cracked. Those were private thoughts. You had no right to repeat them. Why not? Sarah's chin lifted. You've spent a year protecting us from the truth, hiding how much you hurt, how scared you are. Maybe it's time someone protected you for a change. Emma nodded solemnly. We're not babies, Mama. We know things are bad. We knew Mr. Brennan was wrong the second we met him. We tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen. Because I was trying to... Elena stopped, her composure crumbling. I was trying to give you a future, a home, something stable. We don't want stable if it means you're miserable. Sarah reached across the table, her small hand covering her mother's. We want you to be happy, even if that means things are hard for a while, even if we have to struggle. At least we'd be struggling together. You're 10 years old. Elena's tears spilled over. You shouldn't have to worry about adult problems. But we do worry. Emma's voice was soft but firm. We worry every day. About you, about what's going to happen to us. Maybe if you stop trying to protect us from everything, we could help you carry the weight. Mrs. Crawford set down the pot she'd been stirring. That child's got wisdom beyond her years. She's right, Elena. Sheriff Crawford leaned against the doorframe. You can't shoulder this alone. Not anymore. You've got people willing to stand with you. Let them. Elena looked around the room, at her daughters, at Samuel, at the Crawfords and Marcus, and something inside her seemed to break open. I don't know how to do that. I've been alone for so long. Even when Robert was alive, I was alone. He was a good man, but he never... She stopped, shaking her head. I learned to depend on myself because depending on others only led to disappointment. Not this time. Samuel stood, moving around the table to kneel beside her chair. I'm not going anywhere. I promise you that. Whatever comes next, legal battles, money problems, Brennan's retaliation, we face it together. You don't know what you're promising. Elena's hand touched his face, her fingers tracing the scar along his jaw. You don't know how broken I am, how much damage 18 years of survival has done. Then let me learn. Samuel turned his head, pressing a kiss to her palm. Let me spend the rest of my life learning every broken piece of you, and loving you anyway. Emma made a small sound, half sob, half sigh. That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard. Sarah rolled her eyes but smiled. You're 7. Everything's the most romantic thing you've ever heard. The moment of levity broke the tension. Elena laughed through her tears, and Samuel felt something shift permanently between them. Not fixed. They were both too damaged for that. But aligned, moving in the same direction, instead of being pulled apart by the past. Marcus cleared his throat. Hate to interrupt, but the train's due in 30 minutes. We should head to the station. I'll stay with the girls. Mrs. Crawford started clearing plates. You all go. Bring this Catherine woman back here once she's given her statement. Elena hesitated, looking at Sarah and Emma. You'll be safe? Safest place in town. Sheriff Crawford checked his gun. Anyone comes near this house who shouldn't, they'll answer to me. And me. Mrs. Crawford produced a shotgun from behind the pantry door. Lost my children to disease. I'll be damned if I lose someone else's to violence. The walk to the station took 15 minutes. Main Street was still crowded, people watching them pass with undisguised curiosity. Samuel heard the whispers, saw Elena flinch at each one, but kept moving forward. Let them talk. Let them speculate. The truth would come out soon enough. The train was early, pulling into the station just as they arrived. Steam hissed, brakes screamed. Passengers disembarked in clusters, families and businessmen and cowboys heading home after months on the trail. Catherine Marsh was the last one off. She was younger than Samuel expected, maybe 35, with dark hair streaked with premature gray and eyes that had seen too much. She carried a single carpet bag and moved with the careful precision of someone who'd learned to make herself small. Mrs. Marsh, Marcus stepped forward. I'm Marcus Webb. We spoke by telegraph. Catherine's hand went to her throat. Is he here? Brennan? Did he follow me? He doesn't know you're coming. Sheriff Crawford moved to block the platform entrance. You're safe. I give you my word. Catherine didn't look convinced, but she nodded. I almost didn't come. Got on the train this morning and nearly got off at every stop between here and Denver. But then I thought about that woman, Elena. I thought about her walking into the same trap I did, and I couldn't... Her voice broke. I couldn't let it happen again. Elena stepped forward. I'm Elena Hale. Thank you for coming. I know this must be... Terrifying? Catherine's laugh was bitter. That's an understatement. But you need to know what kind of man you almost married. What he's capable of when no one's watching. We should get you somewhere private. Sheriff Crawford looked around at the gathering crowd. My office. We can take your statement there. They moved as a group again, Catherine flanked by Marcus and the sheriff, Elena and Samuel following close behind. The office was cramped with all of them inside, but Crawford managed to find chairs for everyone. Catherine sat in the center,
her bag clutched in her lap like armor. "Start from the beginning." Crawford pulled out his notepad. "How did you meet Thomas Brennan?"
Same way Elena did, I imagine.
Catherine's voice was flat, rehearsed, like she'd told this story to herself 1,000 times. "I answered an advertisement. Mail-order bride. I was desperate. Widowed. No family. No prospects. Brennan's letter promised security, a home, partnership. And what did you get instead?" Crawford's pencil poised over the paper. Catherine's hands tightened on her bag. "A prison. That's what he runs out there. A prison disguised as a ranch. The first week was fine. He was charming, polite. Made me think maybe I'd made the right choice. Then I broke a plate washing dishes and he—" She stopped, swallowing hard. "He grabbed my wrist so hard I heard bones crack. Told me his property didn't break things, that if I couldn't be more careful, he'd teach me to be." Elena's hand flew to her mouth. Samuel felt rage burn through his chest, hot and sharp. "He broke your wrist?" Crawford's voice stayed level, professional. "Hairline fracture. Healed crooked because he wouldn't let me see a doctor.
Said I brought it on myself." Catherine pulled up her sleeve, showing the slight bend in her arm where the bone had set wrong. "That was just the first time. Over the next 6 months, he broke 3 of my ribs, dislocated my shoulder, and gave me a concussion so bad I couldn't remember my own name for 2 days.
"Jesus Christ," Marcus breathed. "Why didn't you leave sooner?"
Because he told me no one would believe me, that I'd signed a contract, that running would make me a criminal."
Catherine's eyes met Elena's.
"That's how men like him work. They isolate you, break you down piece by piece, until you don't remember who you were before, until you start believing you deserve it."
"How did you finally get away?" Elena's voice shook.
"I waited until he went to Topeka on business, took only what I could carry and ran. Stole a horse, which made me an actual criminal, and rode until I hit Denver. Changed my name, started over.
"Spent 4 years looking over my shoulder, waiting for him to find me." Catherine leaned forward. "When I got the telegram saying he'd found another bride, I knew I had to come back, had to stop him before he destroyed someone else." "Your testimony changes everything," Crawford finished writing. "With your statement on record, Brennan's case against Elena falls apart, and I can file charges for what he did to you." "It won't stick." Catherine's certainty was devastating. "He's rich, connected. 4 years ago, I went to the sheriff in the next county over, filed a complaint. Know what happened? Nothing. The sheriff was Brennan's cousin. Told me to go home and be a better wife." "This sheriff isn't his cousin," Crawford's jaw set. "And things have changed. We've got multiple witnesses now, multiple accounts of abuse. That's a pattern a judge can't ignore."
"Can't he?"
Catherine stood abruptly. "You don't know what men like Brennan can do. The lawyers they can hire. The lies they can tell. I came here to warn Elena, to give her information she needs to protect herself. But don't ask me to testify in court. Don't ask me to put myself in the same room with him again. I can't. I won't."
"Catherine."
Elena stood too, crossing to the other woman.
"I understand. God knows I understand. But if we don't fight him, he wins. He gets to keep doing this, to keep hurting women who have nowhere else to turn."
"Then let someone else fight him." Catherine's voice rose. "I've done my part. I came here. I told the truth. That's all I can give." "What if I asked you to stay?" The words came out before Samuel fully formed the thought. "Not to testify, just to stay, as a witness to Elena's character. To show the judge she's not alone in this, that other women have survived Brennan and come out the other side." Catherine's expression wavered. "For how long?" "A few days, maybe a week." Samuel looked at Sheriff Crawford.
"Would that help? Having her here as a character witness? Crawford nodded slowly. It might. Shows a pattern. Shows Elena had good reason to fear for her safety. And if Catherine's willing to swear an affidavit, put her story in writing, even if she won't testify in person, that's admissible evidence. I can do that. Catherine's shoulders dropped, exhaustion written in every line of her body. I can write it down. But I'm not facing him. I can't. You won't have to. Elena took Catherine's hand. I'll face him. For both of us. The door slammed open. Dutch stood there, his face red, his breathing labored like he'd been running. Sheriff, you need to come quick. Brennan's at the saloon. He's drunk, and he's got a gun, and he's asking for Samuel Cross. Samuel's blood went cold. How drunk? Drunk enough to be stupid. Dutch's eyes darted to Elena. He's saying things about what he's going to do to you, to all of you. Boss, you need to get out of town, now. I'm not running from him. Samuel's hand went to his own gun. If he wants a confrontation, he can have one. Samuel, no. Elena grabbed his arm. That's what he wants. To provoke you into something that gets you killed or arrested. She's right. Crawford was already moving. Dutch, you go back to the saloon. Keep Brennan talking. Don't let him leave. Marcus, you go with him. I'll get the deputy and we'll handle this legal-like. And if he doesn't want to be handled legal? Samuel's voice was hard. Then we make him. Crawford's expression left no room for argument. But you don't go near him. You understand me? You show up at that saloon, you give him exactly what he wants, a reason to claim self-defense when he shoots you. Samuel wanted to argue. Every instinct screamed at him to go to the saloon, to end this once and for all. But Elena's hand on his arm, her eyes pleading with him to stay, to be smart, to not throw away their future for the satisfaction of confronting Brennan, that stopped him. Fine, Samuel forced the word out. I'll stay here. No, you'll take Elena and Catherine back to my house. Crawford handed Samuel a key. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone except me or Marcus. And if Brennan shows up there, he won't get through the door. Samuel pocketed the key. You have my word. Crawford nodded and left with Dutch. Marcus lingered in the doorway. I'll send word once it's handled. Might be a few hours. We'll be waiting. Samuel turned to Elena and Catherine. Come on, let's get you both somewhere safe. The walk back to the Crawford house felt like it took forever. Every shadow made Samuel's hand twitch toward his gun. Every sound brought his head around, checking for threats. Elena stayed close, her body pressed against his side, while Catherine trailed behind, her eyes constantly scanning the street. Mrs. Crawford met them at the door, took one look at their faces, and ushered them inside without questions. Sarah and Emma were in the parlor, playing some quiet game with wooden blocks. They looked up when Elena entered, their relief visible. Mama, you're back! Emma abandoned her blocks and ran to Elena. Is everything okay? Not yet, baby. Elena knelt down, pulling both girls close. But it will be. I promise. Samuel wished he could believe that. Wished he could shake the feeling that something was about to go terribly wrong. He positioned himself by the window, watching the street, waiting for word from Crawford. Catherine sat in the corner, her bag still clutched in her lap. This is how it started for me. The threats, the public displays. Brennan showing everyone he was the victim, while I was the villain. You're not a villain. Elena moved to sit beside her. You're a survivor. Survival doesn't mean much if you're still running 4 years later. Catherine's voice was hollow. I thought leaving would be enough. That distance would heal me. But you don't recover from men like Brennan. You just learn to live with the damage. Then we learn together. Elena's hand found Catherine's. We learn how to be more than what he tried to make us. Before Catherine could respond, gunshots rang out from the direction of the saloon. 2 shots, Then 3 more. Then silence. Samuel was moving before he thought, his hand on the doorknob. Elena's voice stopped him. "Don't. Please, Samuel, don't go out there." "Someone's been shot." Samuel's heart hammered. "It could be Crawford. Marcus, I can't just—" "You can't help them if you're dead." Elena crossed to him, her hands framing his face. "Please, trust the sheriff. Trust that he knows how to handle this." Samuel wanted to argue,
Wanted to run toward the gunfire like every instinct demanded. But Elena's eyes, terrified and pleading and full of something that looked like love, kept him rooted in place. They waited. Minutes stretched into hours. Sarah and Emma fell asleep on the sofa. Catherine stared at nothing. Mrs. Crawford made tea that no one drank. And Samuel stood by the window, watching for movement, praying that when someone finally came through that door, it would be with news they could survive. The door crashed open an hour later. Marcus stumbled through, blood soaking his left shoulder, his face pale, but his eyes clear. "It's done. Brennan's dead." Elena's gasp cut through the silence. Samuel moved to Marcus, supporting his friend before he collapsed. "What happened?" "He drew on Crawford." Marcus's voice came through gritted teeth. "Sheriff gave him every chance to stand down. Told him to put the gun away and come peaceful." Brennan laughed, said he'd rather die than watch Elena marry someone else. Then he went for his weapon. "And Crawford shot him?" Samuel eased Marcus into a chair. "Didn't have to. Dutch did." Marcus's laugh came out tamed. "Turns out Dutch had a sister once. Mail order brought, took a horse and rode west. Said he'd rather die free than hang for saving a woman's life." Elena's hand covered her mouth. "This is my fault. If I hadn't—" "Don't." Catherine's voice cut sharp across the room. "Don't you dare blame yourself for what men choose to do. Brennan made his choices. Dutch made his. You didn't pull any triggers." "She's right." Crawford moved to the window, looking out at the darkening street. "Brennan's death is on him. He drew first. Multiple witnesses confirm it. As for Dutch," he paused, "I'll record it as justified homicide. Self-defense on behalf of another. His leaving town is his choice, but there won't be charges filed." "What about Brennan's estate?" Samuel's mind was already moving forward. "His ranch, his property. Who inherits?" "No family that we know of. No will on file at the land office." Crawford turned back to the room. "It'll go to probate. Court will decide. Could take months. Or it could be settled faster." Marcus's eyes found Elena, despite the pain he was in. Brennan claimed Elena owed him. Breach of contract. What if we reverse it? Claim Elena's entitled to compensation for assault and breach of his duties as a prospective husband. Crawford's eyebrows rose. "That's creative and legally questionable. But it might work. If we can prove his intent to harm, prove he lured her here under false pretenses, I want you to have the freedom to walk away if that's what you need. And if I don't want to walk away?" Elena's hand touched his cheek. "If I choose you anyway? Then I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it." Samuel's voice roughened. "But Elena, you need time. Time to heal. Time to figure out who you are outside of survival mode. I can wait. I've waited 18 years. Elena's thumb traced his jawline. "I'm done waiting." Sarah stirred on the sofa, waking at her mother's words. "Does that mean we can stay? With Samuel? If he'll have us." Elena's gaze never left Samuel's face. "All 3 of us. As a family." Emma sat up, rubbing her eyes. "Are you getting married? For real this time?" "I want to."
Samuel looked at the girls, then back at Elena. But only if it's what you all want. No more decisions made out of desperation. No more sacrificing happiness for security. We do this together, or we don't do it at all. I want it. Sarah's voice was certain. I want a family that doesn't feel like we're always one mistake away from falling apart. Me too. Emma climbed off the sofa and crossed to Samuel. And I want you to teach me to ride horses. Mama said you were good with horses in Tennessee. Samuel's laugh came out wet. I can teach you, both of you, whatever you want to learn. Then it's settled. Catherine spoke from her corner, her voice carrying a strength that hadn't been there before. You're getting married, building a life, proving that men like Brennan don't get to win. We'll need a license. Crawford pulled out his notepad again, all business. And a minister, and witnesses. I can have everything ready by tomorrow if you want. Tomorrow? Elena's eyes widened. That's so fast. Too fast? Samuel searched her face for doubt. No. Elena's smile broke through like sunrise. Not fast enough. I've lost 18 years. I don't want to lose another day. The wedding happened at noon the next day in the small church on the corner of Main and 3rd. Sheriff Crawford stood as witness along with Marcus, his arm in a sling, but his grin splitting his face. Mrs. Crawford cried through the entire ceremony. Sarah and Emma sat in the front pew, holding hands, their faces glowing with something that looked like hope. Catherine stayed in the back, her presence quiet but solid. When the minister asked if anyone objected, she stood, not to protest, but to speak. I object to the idea that women who've been broken can't be whole again. Her voice carried through the small church. I object to the notion that surviving means settling. These two people lost 18 years to lies and war and cruel men who thought they could control women's lives. But they found their way back, and that's worth celebrating. She sat down amid murmurs of agreement. The minister, an older man who'd seen his share of hardship, smiled. Well said, miss. Well said. He turned back to Samuel and Elena. Do you, Samuel Cross, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Samuel's voice didn't waver. I did 18 years ago, and I do now, and I will every day for the rest of my life. And do you, Elena Hale, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Elena's answer came strong and clear. I do. With everything I am and everything I hope to be, I do. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. The minister's smile widened. Son, you may kiss your bride. Samuel cupped Elena's face in his hands, his thumb brushing away the tear that slid down her cheek. I love you. I never stopped. I know. Elena's hands covered his. I never stopped either. The kiss was soft and sweet, and tasted like second chances. When they pulled apart, Sarah and Emma were cheering, Marcus was whistling, and Mrs. Crawford was sobbing into her handkerchief. The celebration afterward was small but genuine. Mrs. Crawford had prepared a meal. The town baker donated a cake. People Samuel had worked with, people Elena had met in her brief time in Abilene, showed up to offer congratulations and support. Even Catherine smiled, the first real smile Samuel had seen from her. You're going to be all right, Catherine told Elena during a quiet moment. Both of you. I can see it. Come with us. Elena's hand found Catherine's. To the ranch. When the probate settles. Help me turn that place into something good, instead of letting it stand as a monument to what Brennan was. The ranch? Catherine's face paled. Elena, I can't go back there. Not his ranch. Ours. Elena's voice strengthened. The judge awarded me provisional ownership, pending the probate settlement. Crawford thinks it'll go through. Brennan had no heirs, no contested claims. By law, I'm entitled to compensation for breach of contract and assault. The ranch is that compensation.
And you want to live there?
Catherine looked horrified. In the place where we take back power. Elena squeezed Catherine's hand. We rebuild it. Make it into something that helps women instead of hurting them. A place where mail-order brides can come if things go wrong. Where they can be safe while they figure out their next step. Catherine's eyes filled. That's beautiful. But Elena, I can't. I can't live in that house. Can't walk those halls where he... Then we tear it down. Samuel joined the conversation. We build something new. Use the land, the resources, but create something that's ours. Something with no ghosts. You'd do that? Catherine's voice shook. Destroy a perfectly good house just to give you peace? To give Elena peace? Samuel's certainty was absolute. In a heartbeat. Buildings are just wood and stone. Family's what matters. And if you're willing to stay, to be part of what we're building, then your family.
Catherine broke down completely, her sobs echoing through the room. Elena held her, whispering comfort, while Sarah and Emma joined the embrace. When Catherine finally pulled back, her face was blotchy, but her eyes were clear. I'll stay. Not at the ranch, not yet, but in town. I'll help however I can. She looked at Elena. And maybe someday, when the new house is built, when enough time has passed, maybe then I can visit without feeling like I'm drowning. That's enough. Elena's smile was radiant. That's more than enough. The legal settlement took 3 weeks. Judge Morrison reviewed the evidence, Catherine's written testimony, witness statements from Dutch's friends about Brennan's character, medical documentation of the bruise on Elena's face, and ruled in Elena's favor. The ranch, the cattle, Brennan's bank accounts, all transferred to Elena's ownership. The monetary value was staggering, enough to support her and the girls for years, enough to rebuild, enough to help other women in similar situations. Samuel insisted Elena keep it all separate. It's yours, your security, your choice what to do with it. Then I choose to share it. Elena's tone left no room for argument. We're married. What's mine is yours, and what's ours is a future we build together. They started with the house. Samuel and Marcus spent 2 weeks dismantling Brennan's ranch house, piece by piece, salvaging what lumber they could use and burning the rest. Sarah and Emma helped, their small hands carrying away debris, their laughter ringing across the prairie as the structure that represented so much pain came down. In its place, they built something new, a sturdy home with large windows that let in light, a kitchen big enough for family meals, bedrooms for the girls with space to grow. And in the back, a smaller cabin, Catherine's, if she ever wanted it. A place of her own where she could heal at her own pace. The building took months. Summer turned to fall. The prairie grass went gold, then brown. The first snow came early that year, dusting the roof before they'd finished the upstairs. But they kept working, Samuel and Elena side by side, their hands rough from labor, their hearts full of something they'd both thought lost forever. Catherine visited for the first time in late November. She stood at the edge of the property, staring at the new house, tears streaming down her face. It doesn't look anything like his place. That's the point. Elena took her hand. This is ours. New wood, new memories. Nothing of him remains except the land, and we're changing that too. How? Catherine's voice was barely audible. Watch. Elena led her to the barn, where Samuel had been working. Inside, carved wooden signs leaned against the wall. Each one bore a name, women's names, Brennan's victims, past and potential future ones, saved by his death. We're planting trees, Samuel explained, wiping sawdust from his hands. One for each woman we know about who suffered because of him. A memorial.
but also a promise. That this land won't be used to hurt people anymore. It'll be used to grow things, to nurture life, instead of destroying it. Catherine traced the letters of her own name on one of the signs. You're planting a tree for me? You survived him. That deserves to be remembered. Elena's arm went around Catherine's shoulders. Will you help us plant them? They planted the first tree that afternoon, Catherine's, an oak sapling that would outlive them all. Catherine cried as she shoveled dirt around its roots, but Samuel saw the way her shoulders straightened, the way something hard and knotted in her expression began to loosen. By spring, 12 trees lined the edge of the property. 12 women's names. 12 survivors, some living, some not. And at the center, where Brennan's house had stood, Elena planted a garden. Vegetables and flowers mixing together, practical and beautiful in equal measure. This is what winning looks like, Marcus said one evening, as they all sat on the new porch watching the sunset. Not revenge, not getting even, just building something better. Sarah and Emma played in the yard, their laughter carrying on the wind. Catherine sat beside Mrs. Crawford, the two women working on a quilt together. Sheriff Crawford smoked his pipe, content, and Samuel sat with his arm around Elena, his wife, his partner, his second chance at the life they should have had. Do you ever regret it? Elena asked quietly. Taking on all of this? The girls, the ranch, Catherine, all the complications? Never. Samuel's answer was immediate. I regret the 18 years we lost. I regret not fighting harder to find you after the war. But this, everything we've built, I wouldn't change a single moment. Not even the part where you had to shoot Brennan's desk? Elena's smile was teasing. Especially not that part. Samuel pulled her closer. That was the moment you chose me. Chose us. Everything good that's happened started there. Elena was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm pregnant. Samuel's world stopped. What? I'm pregnant. About 2 months along. Mrs. Crawford helped me confirm it yesterday. Elena's hand covered her still flat stomach. I know it's fast. I know we've got so much already on our plates with the girls and the ranch and Catherine and... Samuel kissed her, cutting off her worried rambling. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet. That's the best news I've ever heard. After everything, after losing so much time, we get to start fresh, build a family the right way. Are you sure? Elena's voice was small. Because I'm terrified. What if I'm a terrible mother to a baby? What if I can't handle everything? What if... Then we'll figure it out together. Samuel's hand covered hers on her stomach. That's what we do. We face things together, and we make it work. Sarah's voice carried from the yard. Mama, come look! Emma found a bird's nest. Elena called back that she was coming, but she didn't move yet. She stayed in Samuel's arms, her head on his shoulder, breathing in the moment. I never thought I'd have this. Peace, safety, love. I'd given up on happy endings. This isn't an ending. Samuel pressed a kiss to her temple. It's a beginning. The one we should have had 18 years ago. The one we fought for. The one we earned. Emma ran up to the porch, her hands cupped around something precious. Mama, look! Baby birds! 3 of them! Can we keep watch over them? Of course we can, sweetheart. Elena smiled at her daughter. We'll protect them until they're strong enough to fly on their own. Sarah joined her sister, peering into Emma's hands with wonder. Do you think we'll get to see them learn to fly? I think, Elena said, her eyes meeting Samuel's over her daughters' heads. We'll get to see all kinds of miracles. We've already seen the biggest one. Finding each other again after all this time. Everything else is just proof that good things really do happen to people who refuse to give up. The sun set behind them, painting the prairie in shades of gold and amber, The new house stood solid against the sky. The trees they'd planted swayed in the evening breeze. And somewhere in the distance, a bird sang, clear and strong and full of promise. Samuel Cross held his wife and watched his daughters discover small wonders in the grass. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that every second of pain, every year of loneliness, every moment of despair had been worth it to arrive at this perfect, improbable, hard-won moment of joy.
They had fought their way through 18 years of separation, through war and lies and dangerous men, through fear and desperation and doubt, and they had won. Not because the journey had been easy, but because they had refused to let it break them. They had chosen love over safety, hope over cynicism, and each other over the cruel circumstances that had tried to keep them apart. This was their victory, this porch, this family, this future they had built from the ashes of everything they had lost. And it was more than enough. It was everything.